Why the US-India trade war is a global power play. All right, picture this. It's the summer of 2025, and the United States just dropped an economic bombshell. We're talking a staggering 50% tariff slapped on a whopping 70% of India's exports. 70%. That's not just a tweak to trade policy, is it? That's an economic sledgehammer, pure and simple. Now, while headlines are screaming trade war, the real game, the deeper, more intricate power play, is unfolding in plain sight, yet often overlooked. Delhi, far from cowering, is quietly yet resolutely tightening its alliances within an expanded BRICS bloc. They're floating radical ideas like non-dollar trade corridors and essentially telling Washington, with a firm but polite nod, "Thanks, but no thanks. We'll build our own table instead of begging for a seat at yours." So ask yourself, are these tariff blows truly just about correcting a trade deficit? Or are they perhaps the opening moves in a much broader, high-stakes struggle? A struggle to decide who writes tomorrow's global rules, who shapes the next world order. Today, we're going to unpack why the US-India trade war is far more than just a squabble. It is a calculated, strategic episode in a global power play that will ripple through economies and geopolitics for decades to come. Let's be honest, tariffs rarely make for front-page drama, right? Usually, they're buried deep in the business section, a topic for economists and trade wonks. But Washington's latest round? This one's different. By August 2025, U.S. customs agents weren't just collecting a few extra bucks. They began imposing duties of up to 50% on critical Indian exports. We're talking textiles, precious gems, intricate jewelry, fine leather goods, and a significant portion of marine products. These aren't just random items. These are the very pillars of India's $87 billion export bundle to the U.S. The official U.S. line, of course, points to a persistent trade deficit and, rather pointedly, India's continued purchase of discounted Russian crude oil. But let's be real, the subtext is glaring. This isn't just about balancing books. This is the White House weaponizing market access, using it as a punitive tool to pressure India's independent foreign policy choices. The fallout? Instant and severe. This move instantly threatens the livelihoods of at least 5 million Indian factory workers. Think about that. 5 million people directly impacted. It also jeopardizes a staggering 1 in 5 containers that leave India's bustling ports bound for American shores. That's a massive disruption. New Delhi, understandably, hasn't minced words, calling it coercive economic action. Wall Street, ever the pragmatist, might dismiss it as a mere negotiating tactic. But for those of us watching the geopolitical chessboard, strategists are calling it the clearest sign yet. It's a signal that Washington's willingness to prioritize geopolitics over commerce has returned with a vengeance. And guess who's the first major target? India. This isn't just about goods and services. It's about a fundamental shift in how global powers interact, with economic leverage becoming a primary tool for asserting strategic dominance. For decades, the US and India have nurtured a complex relationship, often framed as a strategic partnership against rising Chinese influence. These tariffs, however, represent a jarring departure, injecting significant friction into what was supposed to be a strengthening alliance. Now, if those tariffs were intended to strong-arm India back into line, well, let's just say the plan is backfiring. Spectacularly. Days, not weeks, but days. After the US measures went into effect, Prime Minister Modi was opening the 2025 BRICS summit. And this wasn't the old BRICS. This bloc had swollen, expanded to include new economic heavyweights like Indonesia and Nigeria, among others. The banner under which Modi addressed the assembly? Building resilience and innovation for cooperation and sustainability. But peel back that official slogan, and the subtext is crystal clear. If you build enough parallel pathways, think sophisticated currency swaps, resilient supply chain loops that bypass traditional Western routes, and alternative development finance mechanisms, then you simply don't need Washington's permission to grow, to thrive, to chart your own economic destiny. India's finance ministry, seizing the moment, has since floated concrete proposals. We're talking about trade finance conducted entirely in local currencies, a unified BRICS payment card network to rival existing global systems, and even a joint energy buyers club. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're blueprints for a new economic architecture. Looking ahead, by 2026, India will hold the rotating BRICS presidency, and insiders are buzzing. Modi's team isn't just going to coast. They're reportedly planning to push hard for fundamental reforms of global institutions like the WTO, arguing for expanded representation for the Global South. The message couldn't be clearer. The tariff slap from the US didn't deter India. It merely accelerated a strategic shift that was already brewing. India is no longer content to be a rule taker, passively accepting norms set by others. No, India is now a coalition builder, actively shaping the rules and institutions of a multipolar world. This pivot signifies a conscious effort to diversify its economic and strategic partnerships, reducing its vulnerability to unilateral actions by any single power. The expanded BRICS offers India access to new markets, vital energy resources, and technological collaborations, all crucial in mitigating the impact of US tariffs and asserting its economic sovereignty. So we see tariffs straining the old alliance, and BRICS offering India a robust safety net. But what does this really mean for the balance of power, not just between these two nations, but across the wider global stage? Let's be frank, Washington still holds formidable cards. The US dollar remains the world's reserve currency, a powerful lever in global finance. America boasts the biggest consumer market on the planet, a gravitational pull for exports from every corner of the globe. And of course, there's the lingering threat of secondary sanctions, a tool that can send shivers down the spines of companies and countries alike. These are not minor advantages. They are significant sources of leverage that the US has historically wielded with considerable effect. But Delhi too has its own undeniable strengths. Foremost among them, numbers. A population of 1.4 billion people isn't just a statistic. It's a colossal domestic market, a vast labor force, and a demographic advantage that few other nations can match. This sheer scale translates into immense economic potential and increasingly significant geopolitical influence. India isn't just a nation, it's a civilization state, capable of projecting power and attracting allies in its own right. The current trade friction, far from being an isolated incident, is a vivid demonstration of multipolarity in action. The US imposed a series of escalating tariffs, culminating in a 50% duty on many Indian products. This wasn't just about economics. It was a clear signal of US displeasure over India's continued purchase of Russian oil amidst geopolitical tensions. This move, while framed as economic policy, has significantly strained the bilateral trade relations, pushing negotiations into a slow, uncertain grind. India, for its part, has been firm, demanding tariff revocations and steadfastly protecting its vital agricultural and dairy sectors, areas crucial for the livelihoods of millions of its farmers. This isn't just about trade, it's about economic sovereignty and national pride. Analysts widely suggest that a swift resolution is unlikely, compelling India to prepare for extended, complex negotiations. India's response, however, transcends mere defensive posturing. Its leadership within the expanded BRICS bloc is a strategic masterstroke. By promoting a people-centric, global, South-oriented agenda, India is actively shaping an alternative global narrative. Prime Minister Modi's advocacy for reforming global institutions, like the UN Security Council and the WTO, isn't just rhetoric. It's a powerful call for a more equitable and representative world order. This push for institutional reform is a direct challenge to the existing Western-dominated structures, asserting that the 21st century demands a recalibration of power. This strategic realignment means India is consciously diversifying its partnerships. It's actively reducing its dependence on traditional Western allies and strengthening ties with BRICS members and other nations in the Global South. This isn't about abandoning old friends. It's about hedging bets, building resilience, and ensuring that no single nation can unilaterally dictate its economic or foreign policy. The expansion of BRICS itself is a testament to this shifting landscape, creating a larger, more powerful bloc capable of influencing global affairs. The implications for the global trade architecture are profound. India's actions, both in resisting U.S. tariffs and in championing BRICS initiatives, underscore a burgeoning desire among emerging economies to reduce their vulnerability to unilateral trade actions by major powers. The focus on enhancing South-South cooperation, exploring alternative financial mechanisms like the new development bank, and promoting the use of national currencies in trade are all deliberate steps to dilute the dominance of Western-led institutions and currencies. This isn't just about making trade easier. It's about de-risking, about building a more robust and distributed global economic system. So when we consider the U.S. tariffs and India's bold BRICS pivot, we're not just witnessing a trade dispute. We're observing a real-time geopolitical signaling exercise. The tariffs reflect a particular brand of U.S. economic nationalism and a willingness to exert geopolitical pressure. India's multifaceted response, condemning the tariffs, engaging in diplomatic dialogue, and simultaneously fortifying its multilateral ties, is a powerful assertion of its economic sovereignty and its vision for a rules-based international order that truly respects sovereign decisions. The new table that India talks about building isn't just a metaphor, it's manifesting in tangible ways. The BRICS payment network, the Energy Buyers Club, the push for local currency trade, these are the bricks and mortar of a new economic reality. Pathways designed to bypass the traditional choke points of global finance and trade. This isn't just a defensive strategy, it's a proactive one, aimed at creating genuine alternatives. The trajectory of U.S.-India trade relations, therefore, isn't just about tariff negotiations. It's deeply intertwined with India's broader geopolitical strategy within this evolving global order. Will the friction lead to a prolonged standoff, forcing both nations to recalibrate their strategic priorities? Or will it eventually give way to a new kind of partnership, one built on a more explicit understanding of mutual respect for independent foreign policy? What is clear is that this dynamic is being watched closely by other emerging economies around the world, eager to see how a rising power like India navigates the complexities of a multipolar world. The outcome will undoubtedly shape the future of global trade, diplomacy, and the very balance of power for years to come.